Daddy shark, daddy shark, daddy shark, daddy shark. Grandma shark, grandma shark, grandma shark, grandma shark. Grandpa shark, grandpa shark, grandpa shark, grandpa shark. Let's go hunt, let's go hunt, let's go hunt, let's go hunt. Run away, run away, run away. Save that plastic, save that plastic, save that plastic, save that plastic. It's the end. Mommy shark, mommy shark, mommy shark, mommy shark. Daddy shark, daddy shark, daddy shark, daddy shark. Grandma shark, grandma shark, grandma shark, grandma shark. Grandpa shark, grandpa shark, grandpa shark, grandpa shark. Let's go hunt, let's go hunt, let's go hunt, let's go hunt. Run away, run away, run away, run away. Save that plastic, save that plastic, save that plastic, save that plastic. It's the end. All right. Hey, Sharon, I'm going to bring you on so we can get started. Can you hear me? Oh, she can't hear me. Hey, Sharon, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right, we're going to get started. That's the one song that I do not like, is that Baby Shark song. But I had to play it because I know that that's a song that the kids really like to listen to. But I cannot stand that song. Like they played it so much last year. I couldn't take it anymore. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to get started. We'll just get started waiting for some people to come on. And I already shared the video. So I just want to, let me just check one thing to make sure we went through all of the pages. And then we're going to get started. Let me look on my page. On here. And then I'm going to send it to you one more page. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let me just send it out. to, where I want to send it to. I'm going to send it to. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So we want to get this sent out. So anyway, tonight, everybody, we're going to be talking about homeschooling. Because of the COVID virus, a lot of people are stuck at home. I've been talking to people and they are totally frustrated because they have been thrown into taking care of their children during this coronavirus. And a lot of parents are not ready to be homeschoolers. That's not what they signed up for. So tonight we're going to talk about how to help them to cope. How do you get through this crisis that's going on right now, where the children are at home and you have no clue about what you're doing? I think the biggest complaint that a lot of the parents have is that the work has changed. The way that they do the work has changed. Like somebody was telling me about the math. Instead of counting on your fingers, now they want you to count in your head. But we were raised to count on our fingers and write the little stick lines on the paper. So at this point in time, it's really difficult for people. So everybody, I brought my sister on. This is Sharon. She's a retired educator. Her name is Sharon Hodges, retired educator in Prince George's County, Maryland. So she's going to be talking to us tonight about how to cope. Well, we're talking to you because I don't have any little ones, but how to cope while this coronavirus is going on. It's going to be good. So make sure you tell everybody that we're on tonight, anybody who has children, I don't care what age they are, so they can come on and really get some tools about how to do this. So Sharon, just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Okay. So, good evening, everybody. As my sister said, I'm Sharon Hodges. I am a retired teacher, as she said. I taught in the classroom for 13 years. And after I taught in the classroom, I became a mentor for new teachers and helping teachers grow and develop. And I worked with the school district for 30 years. I eventually began to oversee and plan and implement programs, particularly around teacher development and more specifically around new teacher development. And so, if there's one thing I think I kind of know is teaching, but even in this situation, teaching looks very different. And so I didn't come with all the answers tonight, but I came with hopefully some things to spark some ideas in your own mind about the learning environment that we now find ourselves in.
Okay, do you know what they're doing about school? Are the children taking classes online, or what's going on right now?
So it really depends by district. So what you may have seen a lot in the news is that some governors are already making announcements about what school looks like for the end of the year. We live in the state of Maryland, so here in Maryland right now, our schools are mandated to be closed until April the 24th. If you don't
Oh
live in
wow.
Maryland, yours may be different. In some states, like I heard in New York City, for example, that mayor wants their schools closed for the rest of the year. So it's going to vary by
Wow.
jurisdiction. So one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is really the importance of being connected to your school district. So whatever you need to do to be up with the latest and greatest news, that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight so you can begin to hear and understand what your districts are doing. But there are learning plans that are out there, and I wanted to share that with you tonight as well.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn it over to you so you can share with us. I think we're going to be talking to the parents tonight about, um, what they can do. Then we're going to talk about the children, and then we're going to close out with something. So, everybody, I want to make sure that you can hear us. You can hear what we're talking about. Please, if you can give us a thumbs up to let us know that you can hear. We're also streaming on YouTube as well. and I'm just making sure that I got my YouTube thing set up straight. So if you see me moving around, that's what I'm doing. Also, if you want to call in, I'm going to put the call in number on the page, because you can call in. You'll be able to ask Sharon some questions. The call in number is 712-770-5505, and the PIN number is 565110. So you'll be able to ask her some questions. So Sharon, I want to turn it over to you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to do tonight, which hopefully will help us, is to talk about the notion of homeschooling versus distance learning. And I prepared some slides for us tonight. I'm going to see if I can bring some slides up here, and you all can let us know whether or not you're able to see them. But hopefully these will help us as we talk about it a little bit tonight. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we talk about tonight is the notion of homeschooling versus distance learning. So the first thing I want to do is kind of take a big weight off of everybody's back tonight. I want to take a huge weight off of everybody's back tonight, because I want to talk about this tonight in
We're
the
on the video.
context of distance learning, and not so much homeschooling. Now, you might say, what is the difference? I don't know that there's a huge difference, but what I would say tonight
We're on
is
the
that
video now.
homeschooling is really something that parents may have decided to do. So they may have made a real conscious decision about taking their children from what we might call traditional ways of teaching and learning in a schoolhouse, and to teach them at home, or to provide a different learning environment for them. So that's more like a choice. This has happened. We didn't choose this. So, like, it kind of chose us. And so, what I want to talk about tonight is distance learning, because I want to remove that weight from your shoulder if you feel like you are having to homeschool per se in what we might traditionally think of as homeschooling. So, if you walk with me that way, let's talk about it as distance learning. So, in other words, your child is actually learning in a different space. They are learning what they would perhaps have learned in school, away from school, and in a different way. And so tonight, as we talk about it, we're going to talk about how that really looks for you. And I want you to think about what you have done so far. Already, this is what is this? April the 14th today.
I know.
You guys, many of you have probably already been teaching for weeks, or have had your children home for weeks. Maybe there was a spring break somewhere in there where they did not necessarily have work to do, but the children have been home now for several weeks. And so you've kind of been able to either get into a little routine, or you may even be feeling a little more comfortable with what's happening. And so, what we hope to do tonight is kind of affirm some of the things you are doing, maybe spark some ideas, maybe start conversations, share some thoughts, what's working, what isn't, and then kind of think forward to what this is going to look like for the coming weeks and months. And so, what I wanted you to do tonight is kind of walk with me on some of these slides that we're going to be viewing, and I want you to give us your feedback. One other thing before we get started that I'm going to say that's very important. The things that I'm sharing tonight are really my own thoughts, and they come from me talking to other educators, me talking to parents, me doing some research, and me checking out what's happening in my own local school district here. Your situation may be different, again, depending on the district that you live in. So if you take anything away from tonight, one of the things I would encourage you is to stay connected with your child's school system, your child's teachers, because they're going to know the latest things that apply to your children in terms of the content that they're going to be learning. Before we leave here tonight, we're going to celebrate what you've already done and what you're going to be able to do, you and your children, even in the midst of this unusual situation. So, what I wanted to talk about today are the ABCs and the one, two, threes, these things that perhaps will help us during this shutdown. So, follow me if you would. As Charlene said, we're going to first talk about parents. And again, like I said tonight, I want to kind of take the weight off of your shoulder. Um, in my research, one of the things that I found was the number one tip that is out here for parents who now find themselves in this unusual situation is to not feel like you have um, to replicate what was happening in your child's classroom. That is very difficult to do. So if you were trying to do that, take that weight off and put that weight to the side, because that's not something that you're going to be able to do, and it's not even something that you're encouraged to do. And so, what I want to do is to begin, and I'm going to pause after this slide to see if you have any questions or what thoughts you might have about this. I'm going to start with parents with an ABC approach to this. And for A, what I am suggesting that as parents or guardians, some of you may be caregivers of children because somebody has to work. Maybe they're your nieces, maybe they're your nephews, maybe they're actually your grandchildren that you are responsible for every day. And so when it says parents, we're talking about all persons who may be responsible for making sure the children are engaged in a learning process. And so the first thing I would say is the letter A in ABC is for you to adopt a positive stance. And by that, I mean, even though this is just an unprecedented situation, who could ever have imagined that we would find ourselves in this space just a few short months ago? But we are here. And so, what will help us, one of the things that's going to help us is to be as positive as possible during this time, particularly when you are working with children. Because as you guys know, if you are stressed, if you are worried, all of that, the children pick up on that. They tend to take their cues from us, from the adults. And so if they see us being particularly stressed and worried, which face it, these are worrisome times, they're stressful times. But within this space, we're going to try to be as positive while still being realistic with our children about what's happening. The positive simply means we can do this, we will do this, and we're going to be all right. If you are people of faith, this is a time that your children need to see you praying. This is the time that they pray along with you because we're going to adopt a stance that we're going to come through this okay. Assure your children that none of this isn't their fault. This isn't your fault. It's not their teacher's fault. None of us saw this coming. None of us saw this situation where we now find ourselves in. And so it's no one's fault. And so what we're going to do is try to make the best out of this very unique situation. And so starting there, I tell you, it will make you feel better if you determine within yourself that we're going to make the best out of this. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm not going to hammer down on my children. We're going to make the best out of this very challenging situation. So start there. Assure them that even though this is different, it's unique, it's challenging, it may be confusing at times, we're going to make it. We're going to come out of this okay. The second thing I would say, and this is big, if I had a big teacher star, I would put a star by this letter B. Be yourself. If you're the parent, you are the parent. You're not Miss So and so, Mr. So and so from the fifth grade, from the 10th grade at school. You are their parent. And that is awesome. That is awesome. So, what that means is that you understand as a parent who you are. You understand who your children are. Your child is not expecting you to be Mr. This or Mrs. That from school. And so don't try to be that. Don't try to turn your home into the popular classroom around the school. Do what works for you. Do what works in your home. This is what some people have been calling a quote unquote new normal. And so it's going to have to be what works for you and for your family, for you and for your children. Determine how you're going to use your best self in this situation. Not that you are having to recreate and turn yourself into somebody else, but where can you dig? What do you have that you can give to this situation? And we're going to talk more about expanding our reach. But I want to encourage you to be yourself and be all right with being yourself in this situation. And the letter C and the ABCs for parents, this is really important. I'm going to encourage you to connect, to communicate, and to celebrate. To connect, to communicate, and to celebrate. And then we're going to pause right after this screen here. For connecting, this is especially important, especially during this time. You are probably, after 2, 3, 4 weeks of having the children in the house, you might be like, I'm no longer creative. I don't know. And so this is a good time to actually begin to connect. Understand if you're feeling that way, your children probably are too. They miss their friends, they miss their cousins, their grandparents. We are humans and we thrive on interconnection. So what's happening now when people are saying you can't hug your granny, you can't shake somebody's hand, that's totally outside of what makes us who we are as humans. And so this is difficult on everybody. And so the key is to connect, obviously, in a way that's safe. And you've probably already done that through virtual communication, phone, maybe waving out the windows. But this is key. Make sure during this time that you find opportunities to connect. Connect yourself to someone who you know is going to pour into you, be it spiritually, just be it whatever it is. Connect, keep those connections going. Make sure your children have an opportunity to connect with their friends, to people who are going to spark life in them. Um, Also, what I would say is very critical, make sure that you stay in contact with your school and your teachers. Make sure that you know right now what is happening in terms of the learning plan. I will tell you this, in our particular school district today, they rolled out the learning plan for the foreseeable future. It involves lessons that are going to be shown on some of the public cable channels. It involves packets. It involves distribution of technology, Chromebooks for children who don't have it. It's a very succinct and detailed plan. It involves teachers connecting with families via email. Um, it has a special education component. Right now, before any more time passes, make sure that you understand what your school or what your school district has in terms of a continuous learning plan. They may have different names for it, but make sure you know what it is. All school districts should have something, like nobody is just sending the children home. So even if it's packets, make sure first that you find out what the school has. How are they going to be grading for the remainder of the time? What is that going to look like, particularly for seniors or children who are to be moving on to the next grade? I know in our district, they're going to do pass or incomplete instead of A, B, C, D, E at the end of this term. So make sure that you connect. Make sure that you know if your child is a special needs students and they have been receiving support, your district should have something in place to support their learning, even though they are learning from a distance. So, again, reach out. As they said back in the day, reach out and touch someone, particularly people at your school. If you don't have access to technology, um, contact your school. I know a lot of the districts are making technology available. They're working in conjunction with businesses and others to even bring portable hotspots to different areas. So connect. If you're listening tonight and you're not responsible, like Charlene said, she's not responsible for uh, teaching a group of children right now. I don't have a group of children right now. But what you can do is share these things with people that you know who are working with children. So connection is very important. I heard Charlene mentioning at the beginning of the show, you may can't stand, you just cannot stand the new math out here. Like you might not be a math person. Well, who do you know who is? Maybe you have a cousin, maybe you have a friend, maybe somebody from church, maybe one of your other the children has a gift with that and is willing to spend time with your children. Think about that. This is calling for a time for us to really think outside of what we um, maybe have grown up thinking teaching and learning is all about. And so I'm going to relieve those weights from you tonight and to leave you understanding that children can learn when the atmosphere is correct and when the atmosphere is set for them. So do those connections. Make sure for your own benefit that you do that. I've shared with some of my church family that at the beginning of this whole crisis, when we were like told to isolate, um, I really got into a space where I just, I just felt myself coming in on myself, like just totally caving in on myself. Um, and it wasn't until I began to reach out, call somebody, see how they're doing, get on Zoom, see somebody's face, that I began to come out of that. Remember, as human beings, this is not um, this is not our regular space to um, be isolated. So make sure that you keep those lines of connection going. The second C, very quickly, is communicate. Again, this is really important. Make sure that you don't assume anything. And I'll again start back with your school or your school district. Communicate with them. Teachers in most places, and you'll check this out for yourself, are monitoring emails. They're calling home, particularly if you have a child that receives special educational services. They're calling homes, they're reaching out, they're communicating, they're connecting. So please make sure that you are reaching out to them, that you're communicating with the schools and the teachers so that they will know. Um, let's take it to the home very quickly. Communicate in your home what is going to help this situation be successful. Don't assume anything. Don't assume that your children automatically will know how to assume a learning stance in the house. This is different from, coming home and I have homework and, 2 hours later it's bedtime or whatever the case. This is they're home all day. You're used to them being in school 6.5, 7 hours. And now they're home. And even with these learning packets and the learning programs that the schools are rolling out, note this, a lot of them don't take any more than 2 hours to complete. And so that still leaves a lot of other time during the day. The content is not designed to last all day. And so understand that there will be additional time remaining perhaps after your children have completed given work. So what does your day look like? How have you all communicated one with another what that looks like? Do you have a schedule? Do you have a routine around what happens, around who does what? Are you yourself working from home and you need time to make sure your work is done? What does that look like? By now, hopefully, you've begun to communicate that one with the other. Hopefully, you have some semblance of a routine. But what I want to say again, to take these weights off of your shoulders, you can establish a routine, but don't be afraid to modify it if it's not working. If it's not
Mhm.
working, again, this is new for everybody. So, it probably isn't reasonable to expect your child to get up, put on their school uniform, come downstairs at 8:30 and work for. That's not going to be reasonable. There might be days that they're working in their pajamas, but they're still engaged in a learning process. So communicate in a home. What is that going to look like? Are you going to build in breaks? Are they going to be able to have recess? What does all of that look like? Communicate. Find out from your children what works for them in this new learning environment. What distractions are there? What are you going to have to modify in order to make this a suitable learning environment? Don't assume anything. Communicate what is going to work in your environment, in your home, so that everybody is able to work through this successfully. And finally, celebrate. You might say, what in the world is there? What am I going to find? I'm stressed. You can and you must find something every day to celebrate, to be grateful for, to give thanks for. Something that went right that day, something that you just felt positive about during the course of that day. I promise you, you will feel better. And after a while, you will find many more things to celebrate. Make it a family celebration. Sometimes your celebration may be all your own, other times you may want to get others involved, but make sure you find time to celebrate. So, your ABCs: adopt a positive stance, please be yourself and be okay with that, and then connect and communicate, celebrate the good things that are happening, even in the midst of these serious times. So I'm going to pause here because I've talked a while. We're going to do some one, two, threes very quickly to follow up with parents before we talk to the children very quickly. But I want to pause here to see if there are any questions, or Charlene, if you had anything that you may want us to elaborate on from the things we've looked at so far.
Well, let's see. We have some people on the line, and I don't have any questions in the queue yet. But does anybody on the line have any questions for Sharon? Any comments? Nope, I don't think so. So my question is, I think a lot of the parents were wondering about a schedule. Now you said the packet is only about 2 hours
Hmm.
long, and they have a whole rest of the day. So
Hmm.
how should they schedule the children? Because the other thing, the children are getting out of their routine.
Right.
So should it be a routine, something going on throughout the day, or how should that 2 hour period should it be broken up with
Right.
children?
Yes. So what I would say, like I said in the last block, I think routines are really important, schedules. So, what I would say about that, when you set your schedule, make sure that it's going to be reasonable. So, sometimes we set schedules and we want to be down to the minute. Now, in your household, being down to the minute and having a regimen may work. If that works, do it. But again, what we're trying to do now is take as much pressure off of your shoulders. You're not going to be able to have a 6 hour day, learning day that replicates what happens at the school. So do what works in your home. And we'll talk about this in a later slide, but as Charlene is saying, if the content that your child has is only 2 hours, obviously There are going to be other things that need to be done to continue on with the learning. So I have some suggestions a little bit later on. I think our last slide, but understand this: children learn in a variety, a huge variety of ways. And so some of the things that you may want to include are maybe projects, maybe you want to have a science fair, maybe there are things that they're already doing during the day that we turn into learning experiences. But as you guys know, um, this is going to take thought and it's going to take planning. None of this is going to happen haphazardly. And so, one of the things that you're going to have to do is when you see the packets and the work that's coming in, think about things that can be done to supplement that. And so, if a child is working on multiplication, or they're doing geometry, maybe they can measure some things at your house and find the area of of something in the house. Maybe there's a project or something that they can be working on around the house. There could be a video that they are watching. What you're finding now is that everybody is flooding the internet with all
Mm-hmm.
types of class, videos, activities, all of that. And I pray, and to be honest with you, is great, but it can actually be very overwhelming. So one of the things you may want to do, if you have time and you just want to explore, maybe find one or two that are your go-to places. I know the Baltimore County Public Library has put together a list, and I can share that link with you all before we leave. But they put together a list of the many different sites that are offering free programming, free activities. Please don't feel like you have to do everything. You can't, and that's not even good to try and do everything. So you may want to
Mm-hmm.
find one or two go-to places that you can send your child to that are going to be reinforcements, or that are going to be extensions of the learning that they have. But you're right, starting with a routine and a schedule is going to be very important, and you're going to take everything into consideration that's happening in the home. How many children are there learning? How many people are working from home? Where are people actually working? So all of that comes into play when you are planning your routines and getting the learning experience going.
Now, another question was, what if the parent and the child are having a bad day? Do we do school or do we just say, forget it?
That's a good question. Um, I would say that again, what I started off the top of the show saying is you are the parent. So you know your child, but what you are actually seeing now is your child in a different space. You're now seeing your child in a learning environment that's very different than either of you may be used to. And so, what I would say is always try to have uh, the child participating in the learning piece, but understand you want there are going to be times when you just have to stop. Our sister April is a homeschooler, and
Mm-hmm.
she's been doing it for 2 years, and she is amazing. She when my nephew has his times and he doesn't want to do something, like, she flips, and it's almost instinctive because she's a mother and because she knows him. I have not mothered any children, so that instinct is not necessarily in me, but she flips pretty quickly from being his teacher because she chose homeschooling, and so she flips from being his teacher to then being his mother. And she knows as a mother what to do. She knows when he's hungry. Like, if he's hungry, ain't no way, no work is happening because he needs that need taken care of. So
Right.
again, trust yourself as a parent You didn't ask for all the children to be home in this scenario, and so don't feel bad. If you need to move into parent mode because that's who you are and that's what you know your child best, do that. And it may be that later they can better address whatever activity is. You don't necessarily want to cancel, quote unquote, the learning experience because that could spark another whole another whole
Mm-hmm.
situation. But uh, trust your parental instincts here when you need to. What is it that is causing the bad day for both of you? Take time out. It's okay. You got the whole day, and you also have tomorrow. So take time out, but do what you need to do to find out what the needs are, so that you can move into a learning place, or at least part of that day.
Okay. So I think that was the end of the questions. I don't see any more.
Hmm.
I guess we can go now. We're going to talk about the children.
Hmm. So as we wrap up uh, this with the parents, we had ABCs and one, two, threes. And so just to wrap up with the parents, what I would suggest each day that you do is to take 1 minute and celebrate something positive from the day. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. Make sure that you find something, whatever it could be something small. It could be that you plan to start at 8:30 in the morning, and every you were able to start at 8:30 in the morning. So you were able to start on your work at 8:30 because everything else had happened the way it needs. So find one thing positive, and you're going to find if you do that, you're going to find more than one thing. But force yourself to do that. Two, I would suggest that you take 2 minutes and already begin to think about tomorrow. Think about the next day. Because again, we didn't ask for any of this. And guess what? Life is still happening. So while all of this is, children have been sent home for all these days and weeks, life is still going on. Some of you may be caring for an older parent or for an older relative. You may need to go to the grocery store, and even more so these days. So, what does the next day, always before the day ends, always take? I say 2 minutes, whatever works for you. I'm only saying 2 minutes because it forces you to start thinking about it. What does tomorrow look like? And do we need to make adjustments now that will help tomorrow run as smoothly um, as possible? And then three, what I would suggest is to take 3 minutes all to yourself and just breathe. If you don't do any of the rest of these, and I suggest that you do, but do this one. Some of your watches, like you have Fitbit, some of these other workout watches, some of them actually have breathing settings on there where they will just tell you when to inhale and exhale. Go find a place. Hopefully, not the bathroom, but if that's the only quiet place you can find, just somewhere to yourself and just breathe. Use that time to reset. Use that time to re-energize. Use that time to clear your thoughts, to clear your mind. Use that time to pray if that's what you want to do during that time. Don't neglect yourself in this period. You are taking care of multiple things. And so give yourself this time to really just step back and take care of yourself. One of the things you're going to find out about learning, teaching, and learning is that learning happens best when there's an opportunity to reflect. If you do one, two, and three here, you're going to see, you're going to be learning some things. You're going to learn things about yourself. You're going to learn more things about how to make things better around the house, how to set an environment, an atmosphere that is more conducive to learning. You're going to learn more about how your own children learn. So don't neglect that time to reflect. So let's quickly look at our kids because we want our children to be as successful as possible, even in the midst of this challenging time. And so, our ABCs for our kids are real simple. One, I'm going to say apply yourself. So when you're talking to your children, you probably tell them that all the time. You've got to apply yourself. What does that mean? And what does that mean in this situation where we find ourselves? Applying ourselves, and for your children, that simply means to do the very best that they can in everything that they attempt to do in this unique setting and this unique situation. Let them know, kids, you are amazing. Again, it's not your fault that we are having to come. And some of them probably thought it was really cool and neat. Oh, I get to work from home. They don't think that now because the kids right now, it's springtime. They want to be out on their
Mm-hmm.
playground. They want to be playing their sports. They want to be with their friends. The proms supposed to be coming up. All of these things that no one could have envisioned that we now just are not even able to do. You're going to see it's impacting them. And so we have to encourage them all along, let them know we are going to make it, but you're going to do it best if you apply yourself. So even though we're in a tough space right now, do your best. Work hard, work diligent. And that's going to vary from child to child, as you know. Some of your children, you're going to be, if you're working with more than one at the home, some of them you're going to be like, you're going to look up 2 hours later, they're going to be done because they did it all by themselves. Some of them are going to need some more encouragement, some support. They're going to need you to check on them because they may get stuck in one place. So just assure them they're going to be okay if they apply themselves. If they're learning, assignments involve them watching their teacher online, and some of your districts may have that. They need to watch online. They don't need to have the phone over here or the game over there. They need to apply themselves to the instruction at hand. So everything that they are being asked to do it the best that they can is what we're going to encourage them. Apply, that's what apply yourself means. Do it the very best you can. Expect the best of yourself, even in this challenging situation. B, from the ABCs, believe in yourself. Remind them, and I'm sure you do, that they can do this. Even though it's different, they can still do this, that they're still capable of learning. We have to, and again, I want to remind us all, we have to get out of the notion that learning only can take place inside of the walls of a classroom. Learning takes place every single every single place that we are intentional about learning something new. And so let them know that they can do this. Let them know that if they try their best, they're going to be okay. You're just learning in a different space. So believe that you can do this. You're going to do whatever it takes, because as kids, you are applying yourself um, during this time. And then C, this is fun. Challenge yourself. Even children who need assistance learning, they can still challenge themselves. There's always something that we can aspire to be. Set new goals for yourself. If you're doing multiplication facts, you did them in 45 seconds today. Tomorrow, let's do them in 40 seconds or 30 or less than that. Challenge yourself each and every day. Find something new to surprise yourself about, kids. Let yourself know that you have this. Challenge your sister, your brother, your cousin, your friends on the phone. Do something. Look for a new word, look for a new skill, look for something different to challenge yourself about, and then celebrate all of that. So I'm going to pause here as we talk about kids and see if there are any questions, and then I'll do the one, two, three, and the wrap up for parents. And
All right. Do we have any questions? Do we have any children listening on the phone that have any questions? You want to tell us how your parents are doing? Do we have anybody? I don't see any questions on our live about the children. Anybody on the phone have any questions on our line? No questions. So I guess everybody's getting it. They're taking it all in.
All right. I'm going to do a quick wrap up for us. So for kids, A, apply yourself. B, believe in yourself. And C, challenge yourself. You're going to be able to do this. Here are your one, two, threes very quickly for the children. Here's what I'm going to challenge our kids to do. For one, I want you to read one. Read one what? Read one book. Read one chapter. Maybe it's a chapter book that you have. Read one article. Read one something. Read one story, one play. Um, Read something that is going to just be exciting to you. This would be your choice. Find something that interests you. Um, I still like paper books, but you guys may like to read things online. You might have electronic devices that you use where you're reading books and things like that. That's fine. That all counts. What you guys are going to notice, and this is for parents as well as for our young folks. What you're going to notice about the work that your school system sent home with you, it's going to be reading and it's going to be math. That's what it's
Hmm.
going to be. So if you don't get anything else, they're not going to load you down with a whole lot of social studies and this. What you may get is a reading, a piece of reading that is historical in nature, and so that takes care of your social studies. That takes care of your history. But you're going to primarily get reading and math. And so when you do these extra things, it's going to help you with the assignments and things, keeping your skills up because that's what's going to be important. Two, so for two, I would say write two. So you're going to read one, you're going to write two. Write two what? Write two sentences, write two paragraphs. Maybe you're going to write a riddle or write a joke that has a question and an answer. You want to write something. This is going to end with this. I want you to use your hands with this. Don't type it up. Don't put it on your phone. Don't put it on your iPad. I want you to use your pen, paper, hands, fingers to write sentences or paragraphs. Maybe you guys have a journal. You're already keeping a journal. It could be funny. It could be silly. It could be imaginative. Like I said, it could be a joke. But the key with this one, I want you to write to keep your skills up. Make sure you're using capital letters. Make sure you're using punctuation, the correct marks of punctuation. So if you're writing a riddle, you may have a question mark on one sentence and a period or exclamation in the answer sentence. So do something. If you're writing a paragraph, maybe you're writing a story or you're writing in your journal about something that happened today. Practice writing with your hands and your pencil and pen so that you can keep those skills up as well. And then three, read one, write two. I want you to solve three. And this is every day. This is in addition to what your assignments are. Solve three. Solve three math equations. You can make them up, make a game out of them. Maybe challenge your brother or sister, your cousin. Maybe get online, virtually challenge somebody else to see who can solve a problem faster than the other. Um, Recite your multiplication table or your division or something, but solve three math equations. Make them up. Yes, use your paper and pencil to solve them and challenge yourselves around that. Math equations could be greater than, less than, or equal to. They could be algebraic equations. They could be long division. They could be simple addition. But you guys can do that just to challenge yourself and to challenge somebody else. So read one, write two, solve three. Those are going to keep your skills going. So let me wrap up with this, and we're going to see if there are any more questions. I didn't want to leave you without good news. And so I have three bits of good news for you parents, guardians, caregivers, grandparents, uncles, aunts, uh, children, grandchildren. We got some good news for you. I want you to leave tonight knowing that you and your children are doing your best. Remember, and that's why I said at the beginning, I'm kind of stepping away from the homeschool term for our conversation tonight, because homeschooling, in the traditional sense, is more of a choice that people make to bring their children out of a traditional setting and school them at home or whatever. This didn't happen that way. Most of you on this line did not choose this learning experience. So I'm talking about this as distance learning, online learning. Some districts are calling them. But understand this: you are doing your best. How do I know that? Because you're doing something. Because you're on the line tonight. Because you are interested in your children continuing to learn. And kids, you want to be still doing your best. You still want to learn, even though it's different. So tell yourself tonight, be encouraged that you are doing your very best. Release yourself from any burdens that you might feel about not doing enough. What is enough? Right now, we're trying to keep safe and to keep from being ill, to keep our families safe. Excuse me. So you're doing your very best in this scenario. You're doing the best you can. Do what you can. Keep your lines of communication open. Make sure that you connect with other people who can perhaps support you in this endeavor. You're doing your best. So encourage one another and encourage yourself with that. The next bit of good news that I want to leave you with tonight is that you will make it through this. And in fact, we all have to continue telling ourselves, if you are a person of faith, as I am, we have to trust that we're going to make it through this. Let your kids know this. Dig down into your innermost places. Lean on, rest on your faith. It's going to take a lot of flexibility. It's going to take a lot of patience. Pack your patience every day when you get up. It's going to take time, but you're going to make it. Each of you, your children and you're going to make it. What do you think about? What do you want your family to look like or be like once we can see ourselves on the other end of this particular challenge? Whatever you see, whatever you're praying about, use this time to move in that direction. You will make it through this. Finally, this is the one I love, and trust me, it's true. You may not believe it, you may not see it right now, but it's true. I want to leave you with this. Your child will learn, and so will you. And
Mm,
so will you.
mm,
Trust me, your child will learn. Step outside of the notion that your child can only learn in a classroom or can only learn when their teacher is standing around them or when the
mhm,
teacher is peering. Your child will learn. How do I know that? How do I know that? I know that children learn, all of us learn, in many different ways, not just that paper pencil classroom setting. Children learn really well through authentic experiences, ones that are engaging, that they are meaningful. And trust me, just living through this uh,
mm,
challenging time is an authentic experience. So I want you to trust that your everyday experiences can become learning opportunities for your children. Do you cook every day? Do you eat every day? Do they have to make their bed every day? What can they learn about that? If they're cooking and they're cooking with you or they're watching you cook, that's mathematics. Maybe you're measuring something. Maybe you're weighing something. Maybe you're measuring out um, different things. What about the chores? How are they managing? Do you have a schedule? Do you allow your time, allow time for things like family worship or activities or game night? Let your children plan some of those. Put their problem solving skills to the test. Put their time management skills to the test. You can also, as we mentioned earlier, check online. There could be things like um, fun learning projects, science fair projects, activities that they can do. Another thing you want to remember is that learning can happen all day at any time of the day, but you want to make sure that you give yourself and your child an opportunity to reflect on their learning experience. And so, whatever they're learning during the day, ask them about it. Ask them what they learn. How can they use it? What did they understand? What did they not understand? Feel free to add to the things that your school district has given you. There again, they're not giving you 6 hours worth of work. And if your child is taking 6 hours to do it, that's a sign that something is not working. So you want to, you know, they're not, there is not a plan for most districts. Again, you want to check with your districts. There's not a plan for the child to be sitting at a desk all day, all day, all day. And that's the kind of work we're sending home. So again, um, use those opportunities. Step out of the box. If you know your child excels in the arts, by all means, this is a great time to do that. Make sure that they have opportunities to have art projects. Maybe they can put on a show, a program. Maybe they can write a song during this time. Maybe they can create a video. Kids are so savvy these days, and all these kids are making these YouTube videos. Your
Mm-hmm.
child probably knows how to do that already. So let them do different things and use it as a learning experience for them. Use it as a learning experience for them. They will learn. You know your child best. You know when they need to be pushed. You know when they need to be left alone. You know your children who could work independently. You know the ones who are going to need someone looking over their shoulder or someone to check in on them. And as this time continues, where we're working from a distance and learning from a distance, you're going to learn more about them, and they're going to learn more about how to make this work for them as a learning environment. So I hope tonight that we've lifted some of the weights that, and I know as parents and as ones who love our kids, we want the very best for them. Understand that they are learning, and school districts understand. Um, this, I don't know what's going to happen on the other side of this in terms of the education field, but trust me, it has been totally changed. So take advantage of this time to just help your children learn at the pace that they understand, but make sure that they understand deeply. This is not about covering content, but you really have an opportunity to engage in deep learning and understanding um, during this time. So those are the the tips that hopefully will help us a little bit tonight in this distance learning environment that we are now in.
Well, good, Sharon. Thank you so much. That was good. I hope everybody got something from it. One of the callers on the line said, "Thank you so much." They are thinking about homeschooling their granddaughter
Mhm.
next school year. So who knows? People that are homeschooling right
Mhm.
now might decide, you know what? I think I'm just going to homeschool
Yep.
instead of sending them back to school. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully, if you came in late, don't worry about it. This will be up on the page, so you'll be able to go back and look at it again. Make sure you look at all the tools that Sharon has given to you, not only for the parents, but for the children as well. And then also, Sharon, if they want to direct message you, is that okay?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Excuse me, if they have any questions, how would they reach you?
So I can give you my email address if that works, or
Okay.
you can also find me on Facebook. I'm not real big on Twitter and all the others yet,
Mhm.
but my email address is just um, Sharon Hodges 721 at gmail.com. Sharon Hodges 721 at gmail.com. And on Facebook, I am Sharon Jenkins Hodges. So you can be friends on Facebook or you can email me. Um,
All right. So thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, thank you for watching us. We're going to be doing these intermittent videos just to try to help everybody cope with this coronavirus. I think everybody's trying to do their little part online to help people out. So this is my little part to bring videos to you to help you as you go through this process because we're all going through it. Please check me out on Thursday on the radio, Sister Circle Praise. We're going to be talking to a therapist on Thursday, and his name is Robert. I forgot his last name. Sorry, Robert. He's on Facebook, but we're going to be talking to him, and we're going to be talking about depression, stress, anxiety, PTSD, all the things that people are dealing with right now as we're going through this coronavirus crisis. So please join us on Thursday night from 8:30 to 10 on praise.fm. So thank you so much, Sharon. Thanks a lot. I will talk to you tomorrow. Everybody, please make sure you share the video. We are going to try to do as much as we can to help people during this difficult time. So please make sure you share the video. Let somebody know that we talked about homeschooling and help for the parents during the coronavirus. I was going to say the coronavirus crisis, the coronavirus shutdown. So everybody, I will check you on Thursday. I don't think I'm going to do a show tomorrow. I think I'm going to take a break. But on Thursday, I'll be back from 8:30 to 10 on Sister Circle Praise, praise.fm. So make sure you join us. We're going to talk about how to get rid of that stress and anxiety. Okay, everybody? Take care. I'm going to go out with this song that I really, when I tell you I cannot stand the song, but I know that there are children out here who really, really love this song. And my little niece and nephew would play it just to get on my nerves. So I'm going to end with this song. I'm going to close out. Y'all have a good night. Stay well, stay blessed, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Take the song.